Open for Business, presented by Kickin'Inn Australia, one of the finest and fastest growing businesses in Australia.
Hi there, I'm Mike Loader and welcome to the very first episode of Open for Business, a new series where we unlock the secrets of starting and maintaining a successful business in 2022. Now, no matter where you're watching us in the world, the stats remain almost the same. The vast majority of us dream of one day being our own boss, and even more of us have a great business idea about how we could make that happen. The challenge, of course, is taking that next step and actually doing it. Thankfully, here on Open for Business, I'll be joined each week by a man who's done it and continues to do it. It's the CEO of an Australian Cajun seafood restaurant chain, Kickin'Inn. Ravi Singh, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Ravi, can you fill me in a little bit more about the restaurant and the experience that is Kickin'Inn, just for those at home who want to get to know you a bit better?
Well, it's been an amazing journey, Mike. I mean, we started the journey 3 years ago. Sammy and I wanted to penetrate the market with the Cajun influence in Australia. We couldn't find the sauces, so we had to go out and make our own. So we came up with the 5 signature sauces, which is Cajun, garlic butter, lemon pepper, and shebang, which is a mixture of 4 of them. It's a matter of going to our restaurants, putting the bibs and the gloves and eating seafood with your hands and just really enjoying it. It's a family fun affair, and it's a great place to be. So that's how we started the journey.
Now, we're going to be talking all about branding in this episode and how we build a brand when it comes to starting a business. And Ravi, I know you didn't start Kickin'Inn all on your own. You actually had a very good friend of yours along for the journey as well. Let's take a little look at a snapshot behind the curtain.
Hi, I'm Sammy. I'm one of the co-founders of Kickin'Inn Australia. 3 years before we opened up, my business partner Ravi and I got together to start a Cajun sauce, and together we tasted about 20 Cajun sauces. We didn't like any of them, and we said to ourselves, if we don't like them, the customers aren't going to like them. So we started developing our own Cajun sauce from scratch. We invited the neighbours to give it a test try to see how we go. I had about 30 people in the house. We're standing behind in the kitchen, got our fingers crossed, and once they ate it, it was unbelievable. They loved it. We opened up our first restaurant in Petersham in September 2018. People saw the price, it was reasonable, and they started coming in. Once they tasted the sauce, the word of mouth just went crazy. Hi guys, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Good, I'm good, thank you. Welcome Kickin'Inn.
Thank you.
First time?
First time, yeah.
Welcome. How did you hear about us?
You found this place.
Yeah. I think I saw it on Instagram or something.
I was going crazy on social media.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. My name is Sammy, one of the owners of Kickin'Inn. Our customers put a smile on my face. They see the place packed, full, people are having fun, they're smiling, they're laughing. We'll give you gloves and we'll give you bibs, and you, with your hands, you're allowed to make a mess here. You won't get into trouble. Even the kids are allowed to make a mess. And play with your food and taste it, and it's wonderful. It's been a wonderful, successful story, Aussie made, and we're very proud of ourselves.
A lot to be proud about indeed. It must be fun getting to work with your best mate most days, each and every day.
It's the best time I'm having of my life. Sammy and I, are great, business partners. I mean, we started the journey, as I said, 3 years ago, working through the systems and the processes. We both designed the concept, and it was all about, creating something that's different in Australia. And we got the formula right.
I look forward to chatting to Sammy down the track. But let's bring in our special guest for today. She's a branding queen, a creative powerhouse, someone who's worked with some of the biggest companies right around the world, including Toyota, Coca-Cola, Nestle, and Airbnb. Heard of them? Dee Madigan, welcome so much to the program. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me on here, guys.
Dee,
Thanks.
First things first, how important is branding for a business? It's kind of a simple question to start, but I think we should hit those simple ones.
It is everything. I think 67% of a business's value can be traced back to its brand name. But I think too often people separate them, and they're starting a business, and then they'll think about branding as this kind of marketing addendum that happens separate from the business in a way, like it's just almost wrapping paper, and it's not. Branding actually happens from the very beginning, and it should happen. You should be thinking about your brand well before you're even thinking about how to reach your customers.
That is incredible advice. I love the fact that you've referred to it as wrapping paper. I think a lot of people are guilty of doing that. But Ravi, Kickin'Inn's brand is synonymous with fun and enjoyment and excitement. What are some of the practical ways that you keep that fun consistent across all of your stores, do you think?
Well, first of all, I think Dee has touched on some very, very important points. 67%, which you mentioned, was quite relevant. We spent about 3 good years in just designing the concept and the branding, because one of the things that we were quite aware of is if we're going to go into the market penetration, our brand has to be right. So in conjunction to that, to keep the brand alive and the excitement, the fun, we have our employees that are engaged from ground up with myself and Sammy, and of course all the business partners that are involved. We communicate with the staff members. We keep the fun going. We have got some simple things like breakfast bashes where everybody gets together, has the fun, talking about the brand. We talk about successes. We talk about failures. And to me, that's the most important part that any business can have. It's all about engaging your people and engaging your customers alike.
Absolutely. Yeah. Breakfast bash sounds like fun. But Dee, I'll go back over to you. And in this day and age, a business's brand needs to extend far beyond a customer's experience in a brick and mortar store, like a restaurant like Ravi's, for instance. Social media plays a huge role. Is that the case?
It does. I think 10 years ago or 5 years ago, people got a little bit overexcited about influencers. Nowadays, there's more skepticism about that because people know they're being paid to say good things. So what you're really looking for in social media is organic recommendations from people who aren't being paid. That's kind of holy grail of it, if you like. And if you can get that, because we're 80% more likely to buy something, to go to a restaurant, if a friend recommends it, then even if the brand tells it, or an influencer who is being paid by the brand. So that's kind of how it works. But I just want to touch back on what Ravi said before about what they do to their staff and just how important that is for branding. Because there's this saying that says you should treat your employees like they're customers, because they actually are. They're transacting with you for a whole lot of things, for money, for career, all those things. But more importantly, how you make your employees feel transferred into how they make your customers feel. And a brand isn't what you say about yourself. It's how customers feel about you. And that's why this thing about getting your staff excited about how important your internal communications are. And in fact, I'd say they're just as, if not more important than your external communications, is exactly the right way to build a strong brand.
Absolutely. Well said. So, Ravi, Kickin'Inn has some pretty big social media. You guys are on TikTok and all that sort of thing. But how much of Kickin'Inn's success do you think has come from brilliant branding on social media, and hopefully legitimate, like earnest excitement?
Absolutely. I just want to echo what Dee has just mentioned right now, Mike. I mean, internal employees play a very important role, and they form part and parcel of driving that brand image through customer service, great quality, and so forth. I mean, I would say at this present time, for example, we're very strong on social media, and the reason being is because our employees are engaging with the customers. They're the ones that are taking the pictures. They are sharing the excitement with the friends and family. So we are going through something called an organic growth, which is naturally done. 75% of our followers on TikTok are between the ages of 18 and 28, and 78% of those are female customers. So they're the ones that are spreading the news. And we see 25% of the posts are based on the fact that the employees have story told and the customers want to post the pictures and so forth. So it plays a very important role in the 21st century.
Good storytelling experiences.
That's what it is.
Dee, back over to you. What are the biggest mistakes you've seen a business make when it comes to branding? I think it's always important to touch on the mistakes that we've witnessed.
Yeah, well, so 70% of rebrands fail because people put all this money into sort of designing a new logo or designing an ad, and they think that's what a rebrand is. And as we've said, it's not. It's sort of it's the stuff that's from the beginning. Brands fail when there's a disconnect between what's being offered and what customers are experiencing. So I always like to say that a brand is a promise, and a really good brand is a promise kept. But also you want to stand out a little bit. And I think where Ravi's business is good is so many of the food stuff that you see online is this sort of, plated up, very pretty little sort of, elegant stuff.
Yeah.
But you see it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have this thing where you've got a bag of seafood dumped on a plastic thing, and it's got an entirely different look about it. And it feels like it's just like, oh, this is something different. That's going to stand out as well, because people are bombarded with social media stuff. So if you want to stand out a little bit, do something visually that looks different, because we know visuals work different than words anyway. They work stronger. They become sort of truth in our minds quicker. So if you can present your thing in a way that people immediately look at that and think, that looks like it's going to be a different experience, and everyone's always looking for a different experience, you're kind of halfway there.
Well, that's
Absolutely.
perfectly said there. I wanted to talk about storytelling with you, Ravi, just briefly. And just to finish, I understand it's a big part of what you guys are up to down at Kickin'Inn and your journey. Tell us a bit about storytelling.
Absolutely. I mean, and as Dee rightly said, it's all about the engagement. So when we were designing the concept, we had this idea of, putting the storytelling behind the brand so we could educate our staff and educate our customers what the brand is all about. Because Dee has rightly mentioned, the connection and the trust between your customers and your employees are very important in storytelling. So, Mike, we've got a story everywhere. We've got a story on our serviettes. We got a story on the wall that the staff read and the customers read about, and they love it. The reason why they love it is because it's authentic, it's real, it's an Australian brand, it's an Australian company, and we're just basically telling our story in terms of how the business started and where the business is headed to. So we keep that connection with our staff 24/7. And one of the most interesting things is, and Dee has just echoed that as well, is when the customer comes into the restaurant, we start with the storytelling. We tell the customers what the brand is all about, what is the purpose of the brand, how's the menus to be read, how the food is going to be eaten.
Absolutely.
And that's where the excitement comes in.
It's incredible stuff. And I want to thank both of you for coming on the program. Dee, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dee.
Ravi, obviously, thanks for joining us and telling us, starting us off, if you will. The series is very exciting. So
thanks, Mike.
Stay tuned. And sadly, we've run out of time today, but to all of you out there, Ravi and I will be back next time to discuss how to create, build, and sustain culture in a business. It's a big discussion and an important one for anyone looking to get involved. We, of course, look forward to your company, and we'll catch you again next time when we open for business. See you soon.